Howdy hey, howdy ho! We are off to do a HIIT workout that I did the other day. It is pregnancy safe, especially for me because I have to modify my workouts a little bit because I have SPD, symphysis pubic dysfunction. It was amazing. It kept my heart rate level. It's going to be 2 circuits. You're going to go 14 minutes long on each one. It's 3 to 4 exercises on each circuit, and you start with 10 reps, and then you increase 1 rep each time you go around for that 14 minutes. It was fantastic. It was one of the better workouts I've had. It targets literally every muscle you can think of, from legs, biceps, triceps, a little bit of plyo work if you want it. If not, we can modify it again for all my pregnant mamas. But it was a really good workout. At the end, we do isolation exercise and more core work. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. Go ahead and click the like button. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Go ahead and do that subscribe thing if you wish. And let's go ahead and get to this workout, and I will see you guys at the gym.
So after you guys have gotten your muscles warmed up, whether on the treadmill or doing some stretches, you're going to go right into med ball tosses. You're going to go over the right shoulder and then over the left shoulder. We are going to start off with 10 reps. Make sure you are lifting through your hips and not pulling with your back and rounding. We want to be strong neutral spine so we do not have any back injuries. That is super important. As I am pregnant, I am lifting with the pelvic floor and engaging my transverse abdominis every time I stand up. Then you're immediately going to go into squat to good morning. Remember, your knees need to stay in alignment with your second and third toe. And then in the good morning, keeping a neutral spine and initiating the movement with your hips. The best cue I can give you is sitting those hips back as far as possible while maintaining a neutral spine. If you are feeling tension in your back, lighten up the weight a little bit or put the bar down a little bit lower on your back. Good mornings can be a little bit tricky if you don't have the right posture, so make sure you're doing the right technique. Then we're going to go right into rows. If you do not have a TRX, you can use a Smith machine and still do a row on the Smith machine. Starting with 10 reps, this is the last exercise of this circuit. You'll repeat this circuit for 14 minutes, adding a rep each round. If you're feeling it in your arms, that means you need to scapular retract your shoulders in order to feel it in your back. To make it more difficult, you can add your feet on elevation. Make sure you're slow and controlled. Then we're going to go into the second circuit, starting off with Medball Burpees. Again, as I'm pregnant, I'm really focusing on maintaining connection in my transverse abdominis. Every time I'm down on a plank, I'm wrapping my core inward. If you want to make this more difficult, add a jump. I highly recommend adding a jump if you aren't pregnant to really spike that heart rate and be explosive through those legs. The more explosive you are, the more intense it's going to be. With no break, we're going to go right into bicep curled Arnold press. You see me gathering my breath here because it's super important to exhale on the contraction, inhale on the way down. So I'm exhaling, pulling my transverse in as I'm lifting the weights up, and then I'm inhaling on the way down. This helps protect my core as I'm lifting weights above my head. Even if you aren't pregnant, learning to control your breathing and learning to actively engage your core is super important to not only overall strength, but your core strength, which is the foundation to having everything else gets stronger. So I highly recommend you guys looking into that even if you aren't pregnant. Then we're going to go right into tricep dips. If you bend your knees, it's going to be a little bit easier. If you want to make it a little bit harder, straighten out your legs or elevate your feet onto another platform. Also, make sure your elbows are going straight back so we really isolate those triceps. Then we are going to go on to our last exercise of this 14-minute circuit. You are going to start with a lunge. So I'm inhaling on the way down, exhaling on the way up, pulling in that core. These are really brutal. These will also spike your heart rate, so take your time if you need. You can also add resistance bands to add in difficulty, or you can go heavier weights to be a little bit more tense as well. I'm using 10 pounds right here. Use a weight that you are comfortable with. You can also just use straight resistance bands here if you don't feel comfortable using dumbbells. Whatever is your preference. You are going to repeat these 4 exercises for the next 14 minutes. And while your heart rate is still high, we're going to go right into isolation exercises of the inner thigh and glutes. Just to forewarn you, this was brutal and fantastic. I loved it and I hated it at the same time. I'm also working on my breathing, especially on the crunching. I'm exhaling as I crunch and inhaling as I extend, maintaining my hips pressed up. You guys can use a Bosu ball on this, you can use a med ball, you can use a foam roller, you can even use a weight. Just have some sort of visual to make sure you're going up and down. The bigger the movements, the harder it's going to be. Again, be mindful of where your hips are at. We don't want them dropping towards the ground because we are going to lose engagement and then you won't be properly working your core. You can also increase the intensity of this exercise by adding ankle weights. You will be a bad boss if you can manage to do all 3 sets back to back with the ankle weights. Again, I can't stress the importance of this burnout set, of keeping the right posture, breathing, keeping your hips pressed up so we are actively engaging your core and doing the right exercises, or else you're really not getting the full benefit of this little set. If you guys also didn't know, I write the workouts in the description box every single time so you can screenshot that and take it with you to follow at the gym after you watch the video. I also write down anything that's going on in my life, my workout guides, patula, my supplements, etc., or anything that's pertaining to the video in the description box. So never fear, there's always information there. Once we are done with this series, we're going to go right into a glute isolation exercise. It's probably one of the hardest ones I know. That's just body weight exercises that I've done since I was 10 years old in gymnastics. You're going to get in an S shape and you are going to push your heel down to the ground and using your glute to stand up. Make sure your knees are in a comfortable position where you're not torquing it. You'll naturally find that position on your own. Make sure you're not using momentum to sit up and using your upper body to lift you. You really want to isolate that glute. Then we're going to go into S swivels. Notice how my heel is never touching the ground. So my glute is fully activating and moving the entire time. These make you want to cramp. Your butt will cramp if you do enough of them. You're going to do 10 exercises each one. Then you go right into the other side. Again, get in a comfortable S position that doesn't hurt your knee, working on lifting through your pelvic floor and pulling your transverse in every single time you stand up. Yes, I look silly. I look like I'm doing some like hand dance with my hands. Welcome to fitness, you guys. And then we're going to go into the S swivel. Pay attention to my heel. The higher you lift up your heel in the back, the harder it's going to be. Also, try not to put all of your weight on that left glute. We want to maintain our hips to be a little bit more even. You're going to repeat that 3 times back to back. I guarantee your booty is going to be on fire and maybe possibly cramping. But I love you guys. Don't hate me. Then we're going to go right into planks. Because I am pregnant, my core stability isn't as good as it once was, which is okay. So I go for 15 seconds, and I'm pulling in my transverse as hard as I can. You don't want your belly to arch, and you don't want any doming, especially if you are pregnant and you see your stomach starting to cone. Don't do it. You're putting a lot of internal pressure on that linea alba. If you aren't pregnant, you want a neutral spine, thinking about pulling in that transverse as well, and squeezing as tight as you can in that area, as well as your glutes. You're going to repeat that plank 5 times for 15 seconds. And it's okay if you can't hold it for the 15 seconds. Quality is better than quantity. If you notice that your back is starting to arch, take a break, then go back and do it again. I notice a lot of people try to push through planks and their back ends up arching, and then you're really not activating your core. Then we are going to finish off with dead bugs. These are still great for people that aren't pregnant. This is the foundation of core work and learning to use your core to move your legs. You don't want to arch your back or let your lower back come off the floor, and you want to think about keeping your belly as flat as possible the entire movement. You guys can kind of see my baby bump in this video, but make sure if you're extending all the way out and your back is arching, reduce the movement of your hands. Again, it's super important to maintain that core connection throughout the entire time. You'll do dead bugs 2 times, 1 minute each.
This workout is HIIT based. I am a HIIT junkie. I believe in HIIT. My body started transforming when I started HIIT. The reason being, it also keeps me lean year round. Obviously, now that I'm pregnant, my HIIT is not as intense. It's scaled way back. I still want to do heart rises, but it's not to the extreme. If you aren't pregnant, you want to spike that bad boy way up. The reason I love HIIT so much is what it does is it has the EPOC effect, so excess post-oxygen consumption. So what that means is after you do a HIIT workout, your body is fighting extra hard to get it back to homeostasis level, and that burns calories. So you're burning calories throughout the whole entire day throughout that one workout. And what it also does is it mobilizes your fat cells to be oxidized during LISS, low intensity steady state. So typically I recommend a HIIT workout followed by low intensity, whether that's, you know, light jog or weightlifting, which is what I prefer to do. Obviously you're not going to want to do a really intense HIIT workout and then a really intense leg workout. So one or the other on each day, if that makes sense. So we want to make sure you're not going to have injury because your legs are weak and you're trying to lift really heavy. So if you're going to do a really intense HIIT workout, followed by a lower intense weightlifting workout. Or if you're going to do a really intense weightlifting workout that spikes your heart rate, follow up by lower intensity isolation exercises. See? You can do lots of cool stuff. That's how I work out. I don't do conventional cardio. In this pregnancy, HIIT circuits have been a godsend just because it's what my body feels best. And getting into the gym, in and out, I'm not there for an hour, I'm there 30, 40 minutes and I'm gone. And I'm able to just kind of target everything and make sure I'm keeping my cardiovascular health going, keeping my muscles feeling strong as much as possible. You know, when you're pregnant, you feel out of shape all the time, no matter what you do. You take 2 steps and you're like, but on the bright side, HIIT has been my go-to full body circuit. So I hope you guys really enjoy this workout. If you're new to my page, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. I would love to see you back here, and I will see you guys at the gym.